This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, October the 12th, 5 years ago, only 5 years ago, in 2016, Austin Matthews broke out in such a crafty way, scoring not one, not two, not even three. No, he didn't. He scored 4 goals in his first NHL game. So before I talk about the game and why I'm not as happy as I am of talking about this game as you think I am, let's play some context. The Toronto Maple Leafs were terrible. After the 2004 season in which they won a playoff round and lost to the Flyers, there was the big NHL lockout. The NHL lockout had a massive effect for Leaf fans because for 8 years, from 2005 to 2012, the Toronto Maple Leafs could not make the playoffs, shocking a lot of people, especially the 2007 race to the playoffs, as Toronto knocked off Montreal in their final game to get into the playoff spot number 8. However, the next day, the Islanders and the Devils would face each other off. If the Islanders won, they would get the 8th seed ahead of the Leafs. A loss, even in overtime or a shootout, would have given the Leafs a tiebreak, and the Leafs would have gotten in against the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. Sadly, though, the Leafs crumbled when they found out the Islanders won in a shootout. The Leafs had terrible moves, especially getting Phil Kessel. Now, don't get me wrong, Phil Kessel is an icon, but for the want of getting rid of 2 first-round picks, which ended up being Tyler Seguin and Dougie Hamilton. Dumb move. What the fuck, man? So anyway, the Toronto Maple Leafs were suffering. The fans were suffering. I mean, Toronto wasn't just a hockey town. Like, the basketball team was okay. The Raptors were good. And the MLB team, the Blue Jays, were struggling along. But the Leafs did have the help of a shortened 2013 season because of a lockout, ironically enough. Leafs would take on Boston in the first round of the playoffs. They were down 3-1, but then they won games 5 and 6. Got to game 7 where they're up 4-1. It would have been amazing to come back from 3-1 down for the Leafs. And yet they have done that. 1942 Stanley Cup Finals. But then they choked it all away. Worst off for me was that that game was the day before I started work at Target, Canada. So it was a curse. So anyway, the Leafs sucked. 2016, they were the worst team in the NHL, which is unbelievable. The Leafs being the worst team in the NHL, it's happened before. But yeah, the Leafs were terrible. The Leafs may have tanked. They may not have tanked. We don't know. But anyway, the Leafs decided to use Garrett Sparks in net for the final game of the year against the Devils. Ironically, that was my 31st birthday, 2016. And I was not happy. And I was thinking the Leafs may be tanking, but they're not going to get the number 1 pick because Buffalo in 2015 seemed to tank, but they didn't get the number 1 pick. They got the number 2 pick. Edmonton somehow won the draft lottery, got Connor McDavid. Buffalo took Jack Eichel, and as of right now, Jack Eichel is not doing so well in Buffalo. His injury, and Buffalo might want to get rid of him. Anyhow, the Leafs knew that Austin Matthews was going to be their main guy. So, thankfully, they won the draft lottery. Like, whew. He was picked first overall, obviously. And then his first game was against those pesky Ottawa Senators. Fuck, I hate them so much. I hate them with every bone in my body. Now you may be thinking, wait a minute, don't you hate Montreal and Boston just as much? In a sense, I do. I hate Montreal and Boston equally, but not as much as Ottawa. Because A, there are provincial rivals. Of course, I'm Canadian. I'm from Southern Ontario. And B, my brother cheers for them openly against me. That just angers me blood. Anyhow, so Austin Matthews was ready to go. And so were the Leafs. They were playing Ottawa, in Ottawa, at, ironically, the Canadian Tire Center. So anyway, in front of 17,000 plus fans, it was a Wednesday night to start. And the first goal of the season was scored by Austin Matthews from Zach Hyman, who's now in Edmonton, and Willie Nylander, who once had a very lengthy lockout, holdouts that cost the Leafs kind of in the end. But anyway, Ivan Nylander to Austin Matthews. He scored the first goal of the year for the Leafs and first initial goal. Not bad. And then Ottawa tied it on a Bobby Ryan goal and then took the lead on an Erik Karlsson goal. I still say Ottawa should not have gotten rid of Erik Karlsson. He was pretty good. Bobby Ryan, I think he's still with Ottawa, or he's with the Habs. Or am I thinking? No, I'm thinking Corey Perry. Anyway, Toronto ended up tying the game on an Austin Matthews goal. The goal at 14-18 of the first period was amazing. His stick handling, he stick handled out of the zone. He still kept the puck on his stick, and he stick handled around 3 or 4 Senators and scored to tie it at 2. So then comes a giant move. The Leafs were tied with the Senators after 1 period. Second period, Morgan Rielly fed Matthews the puck, and he scored a hat trick. Only a few players have scored a hat trick in their first NHL game. Guillermo Latendresse. I would say Latendresse. There was a guy from Minnesota who did that. And Toronto picked him up, and, he failed miserably. I would say Latendresse, but I might be wrong. For one thing, I know one guy, Real Coluche, scored a hat trick in his first NHL game in 1979. But that's tainted because, he played in the WHA for Quebec. So, technically, yeah. But Ottawa would tie the game on a Derek Brassard goal, who was my favorite New York Ranger for a while, and then the Rangers decided to trade to Ottawa for Zibanejad. Although the trade has worked out kind of in the end. Anyway, before the second period was over, Austin Matthews got the puck from Nylander and Garner, and he scored. Toronto was up 4-3, and Austin Matthews scored all 4 goals for the Leafs, and he set the record for most goals in a debut game. Nice. And then in the third period, Kyle Turris scored to make it 4-4. Overtime beckoned, and unfortunately in the first minute, Kyle Turris scored again. And the Ottawa Senators, despite giving up 4 goals by one player, Austin Matthews, ended up winning the game 5-4 in overtime. Not a good start if you're a Leaf fan. Typical Leafs. You have someone who's a good offensive player, but the defense just crumbled. I was pissed freaking off. You don't know how pissed off I was. Craig Anderson beat Freddie Anderson in that game. However, the Leafs did use a bit of momentum to win a spot in the 2017 playoffs. Played Washington, had them 2 games to 1, but then they lost the last 3. That series actually is memorable because it had 5 overtime games, tying the record set by the 51 Stanley Cup final between the Leafs and Habs and the 2010 or 12. I think it's 2012. 2010. I think it's 2010 between the Blackhawks and the Coyotes. Yeah, that's right, because the Blackhawks won that series. 2010 or 2012, Blackhawks versus Coyotes first round. I think it was 2010. But anyway, yeah. So, that was huge. I think it was Phoenix. No, I think it was 2012. Because Phoenix scored the majority of them. Anyway, yeah. So, Austin Matthews is still a Leaf icon for the younger generation. The best guy since Matt Sundin, they say, for the Leafs. Well, I believe it when I see it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.